Hello, this is what we call our own riveting interview. There's a political action group called the Riveters Collective here in Whatcom County. They have a passion for justice, equality, and taking care of the poor. And although I did not seek their endorsement and therefore was not interviewed by them, I watched all the interviews that they performed on our Ferndale candidates, and I quite frankly thought they asked some fantastic questions. So I wrote down the questions. There are 5 of them, and I have my own Rosie the Riveter here. This is my daughter Analise, and she is going to interview me. She has all the questions from the Riveters, and we've not practiced this. This is the first take, and so I'm going to turn it over to Analise, my own Rosie the Riveter, and she's going to ask the first question.
Mr. Mayor, what have you done to help homeless in Ferndale?
What have we done to help homeless in Ferndale? Well, first of all, Analyst, you know that we have had people stay in our homes, sometimes just for a few weeks and sometimes for over a year and a half who found themselves without a place to live. So our personal practice is one to be helpful to people when we think that we're able to. As a city, we have started what's called the Poverty Task Force. They're dealing with the broad issues of poverty now and in the future here in Ferndale. But also part of what they're doing is focusing on homelessness. Another thing that I can think of is that we work very closely with the churches in order to provide the proper supervision and inspection, especially fire inspection of churches, so they can freely allow homeless people to either stay in their buildings or to perhaps even under certain conditions, encampments outside. So those are just some of the things that we're doing to help the homeless here in Ferndale.
How will you advocate for and help marginalized members of your community?
There certainly are marginalized members of every community. One group of marginalized citizens are the handicapped. One of the things that we've done in Ferndale is we added, I think, 4 to 6 crosswalks, not crosswalks, but handicapped parking here in our city that we didn't have before. Really providing some of the best parking places in the city for those that are handicapped. One of the things I did was I met with a young man named Matt who is confined to a wheelchair. He met with me and told me that he had difficulties using the bathrooms at the library. So I went there with him, looked at him, and I agreed. And we spent, I think it was about $12,000 to add the automatic doors to the bathroom. So we have done some, I think, helpful things to those that are disabled. There are other marginalized members of our community. My personal practice is one of complete non-discrimination, whether we're hiring or working with people or serving with people. I am proud to say that this administration has reached out to all communities. We have a Punjabi community that we've reached out to, a Russian community that we've reached out to. Of course, there's Native American and Hispanic, and I consider myself close friends with folks in all those communities, and I'm always looking for ways to, and I have, appoint members from these communities to boards and commissions so they can serve. Also women, if we're talking about marginalized people, women have had a hard time, and I'm proud to say that the executive team that we have here at City Hall, most of the members I've either recruited or hired or promoted, half of them are women that are serving in executive leadership at our city.
What have you done to help make for a cleaner environment? A
cleaner environment. We are non-compromising when it comes to the environment. The environment here in our state is regulated by the Department of Ecology and various state organizations, and we take it very seriously. When builders and contractors work with the city, we especially make sure they are following all the rules when it comes to stormwater and land disturbance, and we're not hesitant. And we have fined builders and developers who don't follow the rules. So the environment is incredibly important to us. Here in our own personal practice here at home, we practice recycling and things like that. But I always like to say my top 2 priorities. Number 1 is safety. Decisions that are made by this mayor are motivated by safety. Next up is the environment. We have a clean place to live. We are going to keep it that way.
Mr. Mayor, how will you work to cultivate trust and encourage positive civic engagement in Ferndale?
Trust and positive civic engagement. How do we cultivate those things? Well, first of all, I think you need to be a person of integrity, honesty, and transparency. When I say something, I mean it. I tell the truth always, and I always operate out of a position of integrity and tell people maybe not what they always need to hear, but what is truthful and honest. We've also reached out to people in order to let them know that we want to hear all voices. I've been intentional about reaching out to people that don't necessarily agree with me, people who I know vote differently than me. I meet with them regularly to hear what they have to say so that we can be an inclusive city, a city that hears all points of view and then able to make the best decisions for our community.
What have you done to help build community in Ferndale?
Building community, I would say that's probably the most important thing that I bring to the table. I put community and neighborhood at the top of the list of things that are critical for me. Well, first of all, safety. We recently noticed that crime in Ferndale has plummeted to about 1/3 of what it was just 12 years ago. You can't have good community if you don't feel safe. We have an amazingly safe community that's getting safer, one of the safest cities in the state of Washington, and we are totally committed to investing in our police department to keep ourselves a safe community. We've built community by being accessible. I am always publicizing my availability times to the community on social media, so if they want to talk with the mayor, meet with me, I'm usually very easy to find for a cup of coffee. We want to make our government more accessible to our community as well. I am proud to say that we had 23 Ferndale citizens file for public office in the city of Ferndale in May. That is by far a record. That's about 3 times the norm. I think part of it is because we have been aggressive at communicating to the community what's going on with the city through social media. We have invited people to council members. In fact, some might say that we're bribing people, but I don't think we are really bribing people by providing a free coffee card to those who have visited the city council for the first time and managed to last from gavel to gavel. I think we've given away about 100 of those cards. Those are gifts that were given to us by the Walking Community Foundation and by Woods Coffee. We've also done something called Love Thy Neighborhood. We've recruited churches and volunteer and civic groups to clean up neighborhoods around where they operate and do their service. We provide the kit that has the safety equipment, the gloves, and the garbage bags. Edeline's Ice Cream has partnered with us, and they provide the free ice cream. So we've done some things to make our neighborhoods cleaner. Last thing I'd like to talk about is parks. We've done a lot for parks. We've increased our budget for parks. We have completed Star Park. Everybody knows about Star Park, that was built mostly with volunteer labor and time. And we continue to do those types of things so that we have a great place to live and work. I also want to just quickly mention that we have invested more financial resources in some of the civic groups, some of the nonprofit groups that help our community. We've doubled our giving to the food bank, to the Domestic Violence Commission, and other groups that help make our city a great place. Are there any more questions?
That's all for today.
Well, thank you, Analise, for being a great Rosie the Riveter. And again, we call this a riveting interview, and we want to thank you for watching it and for sharing it. And if you get a chance, please visit our website, www.reelectjon.com, and have a great riveting day. Thank you.